We're going to make black marks and lines, mainly lines, on pieces of paper. So you need some things to make them with, and probably whatever you've got at home will work. I've got a few things here, different markers and a ball pen and so on. For example, a felt marker like that, it's a board marker actually, will make a mark like that. I may want to make marks like that. You do lines like that, lines like that, lines like that. That's a thick line. Yeah, I could do a very thick line like that if I want to. So that's good for that. Take a ballpoint pen, or rather this marker here. Oh, this is a kind of brush-like marker. Could make that type of line with that. Something like even an eyebrow pencil. You ladies could use an eyebrow pencil if you want. A ballpoint pen is great. I draw with them all the time. They make a very, very fine line. And cross-hatch like that. Do patterns. Very fine lines. You can scribble and do a stronger line if you want to. What have we got here? A very fine sort of rapidiograph type mechanical pen. These are good. These are good. Do that sort of line. All sorts of lines. So that's all you need. Something that will make lines. Some different ones that will give you different kinds of lines, because different kinds of lines have different kinds of feelings. Here I'm going to show you people the difference, in case you're not clear about it, between abstract, and non-abstract. I start like this. That is abstract. This is not abstract. If I do a face like that, that's a symbol or a cartoon, whatever you want to call it, but it's not abstract because it represents something. It represents a face. A square is totally abstract. If I add a triangle and another square and another square, is it still abstract? Yes, it's still abstract. If I add another triangle and a circle, half circle there, is it still abstract? Yes, it's still abstract. It doesn't represent anything. Okay, it's a square and a triangle and another triangle and a half circle. Those are abstract, like numbers. 4 is an abstraction. 4 what? 4 airplanes, 4 houses, 4 people, 4 jobs. It's abstract. So, now, let's keep going. Is it still abstract? Some people out there will be saying no, and some people out there will be saying yes. The answer is it's somewhere between realistic and abstract. It's semi-abstract. See an eye and an eye and a nose and lips and a hand and a hand. So therefore, it's not completely abstract. It's semi-abstract. That is the difference between abstract and non-abstract. This is going to be an exercise, a warm-up exercise. And to do it, all you need is a piece of A4 paper, or round about A4. And I'm going to ask you to divide it up into 16 squares. Actually, they're not squares, they're rectangles. You fold it. We're going to do it in the simplest possible way. Fold it 4 times. Twice. 3 times. Again. Open it up. You notice I'm just simply using a very small round table that I happen to have lying around at home. I have planned this so that you guys can anybody can do this using what they've got at home. You don't need anything special. So I'm going to put a line just close to fairly close to the crease. Put a line. I find it quite hard to do a straight line with one stroke, but I know lots of people are good at that. I tend to have to do a line like this. It's wandered a bit, then I straighten it up a bit. That's okay. It doesn't matter how many light lines I make. Okay, here's the exercise. We have these words here, 16 words. They express different experiences or feelings, emotions. Happy, sad, growth, decay, marriage, divorce. So they're opposites, always opposites. I'm going to ask you to make a few lines, however many lines you need, or dots or shapes or whatever, a few marks on the paper, on this piece of paper here, where you have the 16 rectangles. So I'm going to ask you to make a few marks, a few lines, a few whatever on there to express happiness, and when you've done that, do sad. And when you've done sad, you move to growth, and then you, underneath growth, you do decay. I'm going to promise you that if you're I want you to do this completely abstractly. Don't do any, for happy, don't do a happy face. Don't do a happy person. Don't do a flower. Don't do the sun smiling. Just do some abstract lines which don't actually represent anything as we see it in the real world, which express the feeling of happiness. So while you're making these lines, you're thinking about happiness, feeling happy. And I can guarantee that while you're making that, because you're thinking about happy, or because you're thinking about sad, or because you're thinking about growth, that's what you're thinking about when you're making the lines, it's almost unavoidable. You will inevitably express the word that you're thinking about, the emotion that you're thinking about. So like I just said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to have you watch me do this, because I don't want you to think that I want you to do it how I do. But keep it completely abstract. Don't draw anything as you see it in the world. Just try to do lines which express, which give the feeling of the word that you're thinking about, that you've got in front of you. You'll need to pause your video and write them down on a piece of paper and have them in front of you. So I can just shut up and leave you to do that now, and then come back to you with the next exercise. This is exercise 1. I'll come back to you with exercise 2. So please go ahead and do that now. Okay, so you have just done exercise 1, abstract lines expressing different feelings and emotions. Now we're ready for exercise 2. That is, I'm going to take my ball pen. I'm just going to make a small square or rectangle on my paper. This is going to be done on a small scale. I'm going to do a wavy line. I'm going to take the wavy line, I'm going to make it come, I'm doing it with the ball pen first, very thin, like that, from that side to that side. I want you to make sure that your lines come in right at the edge of the shape that you've made, and go out of the edge, of another edge of the shape that you've made. Now that's one line, that's a thin line. I'm going to do it in another way, the same line in another way. I'm using the felt pen this time, and I want to make it as close as I can to the other line. Close as I can, I follow the wavy line with another wavy line, but this time it's a broken line. And please try to make it as close as you possibly can. There's a reason for this. I'm going to explain it in a moment. Then I'm going to follow the line with a thicker wavy line. It's the same wavy line, but I'm really watching the space between the new line and the other line, because I don't want it. And I can move the paper around to make it easier to do. Follow it like that. Follow it like that. Follow it. Follow it very closely. Blacken in between so I can get a nice thick line. But you see already that we have 3 different lines. It's the same wavy line, but it has a different character because it's thick and strong. The middle one is thin and kind of wiry, and the other one is broken. These lines have a completely different character. So this is an exercise, and you'll see the sense of the exercise at the end when you do the final project, and when you complete the final project. you'll see why, because you might be thinking, why is this guy making me do such a simple thing so carefully and slowly and painstakingly? There's a process taking place when you do this, when you subject yourself to doing something slowly and carefully and in detail. There's a whole sort of process beginning to take place, and it's that process that we're tapping into by doing this. You will appreciate it completely when the work is finished. Right now, I'm just asking you to go along with the process. So what I'm going to ask you to do is 4 wavy lines. I'm going to do the 4th wavy line now. I'm going to go as close as I'm going to use the same felt pen I did to do that very thick one. I'm going to go really, really, really close to it. I'm getting really close. Please bring the camera really, really close. And there we go. And there's method in my madness here. It seems kind of weird and strange, I know, and it is kind of weird and strange. And what you're going to do, in many ways, will be kind of weird and strange, but it will be exciting. That's 4 lines, 4 wavy lines. Now, I'm going to do a completely different type of line. It could start anywhere. I'm going to start in this corner. I'm going to do a broken, jagged line. Now you see, when I got to there, I stopped. I said don't touch, but what I mean by don't touch is when a line is following another line, you mustn't touch the other line. But when a new line crosses those lines, this broken line is now crossed, it touches that one, stops, and continues on the other side. Right? And I'm going to go to this corner. So now, I'm going to do that line, that same zigzag line again in a different way. This time I'm going to do it really, really thick with this thick marker. Follow it closely, very, very closely. Mustn't touch it. Golden rule, mustn't touch it. Here's my 3rd thin line, going as close as I can. And now, from now on, I'm going to complete this. You'll see me complete it. Nobody's trying to be very original here, but we're going to speed up the camera because it would be really, really boring for you to sit there watching me do all these lines. Thin line, wide line, medium line, a dotted line. That's as far as I've got so far. Here we are, I've got 4 lines. They're all completely different. A dotted line, a medium thickness line, a very thick line, a very, very thin line that I did with a ballpoint pen. Already, I would claim that it starts to look quite interesting. The space is getting divided up in a fairly interesting sort of way. But now I have to, I've got the curvy line and I've got the jagged line, the zigzag line. But now I need another type of line. So I'm going to do another type of line. I'm going to bring this one. This is going to be a straight line. And I'm going to go across here. I'm going to go like that. I'm going to make it this wide. It's going to touch there, come out the other side. It's going to be a perfectly straight line. It's going to go all the way across here. I'm going to make it even wider. Like this. All I can do, the only interest I can get out of it is to do it very, very close and very, very thin. Now, one more line. I've got 1, 2, 3. I need a fourth line. I think I'm not going to use this. It spreads too much. I already lost the plot somewhere in there. So I'm going to use this marker to get a really wide line. And I'm going to do it here. The next thing I want you to do is choose one of the spaces in the drawing to make a pattern. And it could be a space like that, or this space here, this shape here, this space here, this one here, or this here, this outer space here. I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to fill it with any kind of pattern. And since we're going to do a dragon eventually, dragons are scaly. So I'm going to do a kind of pattern based on scales. Anything that repeats is a pattern, right? So like that. Now I'm going to go like that. You can create any kind of pattern you like. It could be, for example, it could be circles with a cross inside. If you repeat them and repeat them and repeat them a lot, it becomes a pattern. So I'll complete this space now with this circle with a cross in it. Detailed pattern. This mythical creature you're going to do, there'll be shapes, maybe some quite large shapes, also a lot of detail. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to create your own mythical imaginary creature. I've done this lots of times at my art centre in Bali with people. I'm going to ask you to please try not to get an image of the mythical creature that you're inventing inside your mind and then take it from your mind and put it onto the paper. That's extremely difficult and not a very creative way of working. What I'm going to ask you to do is to just start working with lines with the marker or markers that you've got and making lines that follow one another and thick lines and thin lines and so on. And then also make patterns. The pattern making is sort of preparation for the way creatures are either feathered or scaled like snakes or dragons or whatever. So patterns and shapes and lines of different thicknesses and so on. To give you some stimulation on this, I'm going to show you some black and white drawings of mythical creatures from different cultures all over the world. And I'm going to flash them on this video very quickly. Please don't pause and ponder over them, and please don't get the impression that I'm asking you to copy them or do something exactly like them. I'm just flashing them up on the screen for you to see, to give you an overall impression of how extremely unusual and imaginative and fantastical these mythical creatures can be. And then I would like to invite you to create one entirely of your own that is unique. Okay, now I'm going to show you the start of the mythical creature drawing. What you'll need to start with is a piece of paper. Instead of A4, you could use A4 if you want. You could do it any size you like. But I'm using a rather bigger piece. It might be a bit more satisfying for you if you use a larger piece of paper. So just take a look at the A4, what size that is, in relation to this piece on this small round table here. And I'm going to use this. I'm going to chat to you a little bit about how we're going to do this while we're doing it. And I'm just going to show you, I encourage you to start in this way. You've already done all sorts of lines, so just start by making a few lines and marks here and there. This is going to become your mythical creature, your unique, highly original, imaginative mythical creature. But you're not going to go directly into drawing the mythical creature. You're going to allow it to emerge from the paper, from making marks. Let's try this. Let's make a few marks with this. I'm going to make some marks, for example, which follow the shape of the paper, the edge of the paper. Marks and patterns. Like that. I'll make a pattern now with circles. And let's continue with this. Let's take this felt marker. Now, I don't have anything at all in my mind. I'm just making lines, and that's what I'm encouraging you to do, is just get into the business of the idea that you're going to fill this piece of paper with marks and lines and patterns and so on, and ultimately it's going to become a mythical, highly imaginary creature of some kind. I might start to make a sort of claw thing here. I might do an eye over here. But I'm committing, I'd like you to commit to spend quite some time sort of doodling. Most people know what the word doodling means. Doodling is just kind of scribbling, really. Just kind of scribbling. And if you're not used to doing this, this is your chance to get used to it. Get used to simply scribbling. No plan. No plan. Just lots and lots of scribble. And every once in a while, just break out and go. Maybe I connect this to that. Maybe I connect this to these lines over here. And bring a line from over there. This doesn't require a huge amount of imagination. It just requires for me to show you and suggest to you how you might care to use the pen on the paper slowly, slowly, slowly. I've got in mind that it's going to become some sort of a very, very strange creature. Other people might not even see it, but if I see it, I see it. That's okay. Maybe you like to share it with somebody, maybe you don't want to share it with anybody, maybe you only want to share it with me, but I do encourage you to share it with me, send it to me. Now you may be thinking, if 10,000 people from this video that this guy has sent out send him these pictures, how is he going to respond to them all? The answer to that is very simple. I don't know. I don't know how many or how much I'll be able to respond to them, but I'm going to have fun doing it, and I'm going to have fun trying it, just as I'm having fun introducing this whole idea to you in the first place. Have fun, get into it. If it becomes a bit tricky or a bit difficult, just stay with. Lots of things in life get a little bit tricky and a little bit difficult. Art is no different from anything else. No different from any other task. Cooking a meal, building a brick wall, whatever. So, please, enjoy, and let's talk some more after you've done your mythical creature. Thank you.